What's up, home bartenders? You know, nothing is better on a cold winter night than a nice hot chocolate. So today we're gonna make 3 boozy variations of a classic hot chocolate that you can enjoy on a cold January night. Let's do it. So the first thing we need is a quality hot chocolate mix. You could just use one from the store. Store-bought is fine, but you can also very easily make your own.
So you want to start with a quality unsweetened cocoa. I've got a Hershey's brand here, and we want 1 cup of cocoa powder into our container. Follow that up with 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. So you want the powdered stuff. Get that in there, 1.5 cups. After that, we want some milk powder. The idea here is by adding milk powder to our mix, we don't have to add milk to the hot chocolate, although you certainly can. 1.5 cups of milk powder. Follow that up with a pinch of salt and just about a teaspoon or 2 of cornstarch.
All right, so this reached pretty much the top of my container, but do your best to shake and combine all your ingredients. And you got yourself like almost 4 cups here of amazing homemade hot chocolate mix. All right, we're about to make our cocktails here, but before we do, let's talk water versus milk to dissolve your hot chocolate mix into. I don't think anyone will disagree that milk is obviously the better option. It's creamier, it's smoother. However, it is fairly impractical unless you have an available milk steamer. You have to either reheat it in the microwave, which is not the best method to do, or you do it on the stovetop, which just makes a huge mess and it's a pain in the ass. So I do prefer to simply use hot water, but that is one of the reasons why we included milk powder in the mix, is so that you do get some of that creaminess in there. Okay, but feel free to use water or milk.
All right, starting with a maple bourbon hot chocolate. Starting with 2 tablespoons of our mix, we're gonna add just a little bit of hot water to get that dissolved. You can use a spoon here. I'm gonna be using this little milk frother, and just a couple pulses. Make sure you don't make a big mess, but a couple pulses should dissolve everything into the hot water. All right, after that, we want 1 ounce of bourbon. You can obviously use any whiskey here, but I'm using bourbon, Maker's Mark, 1 ounce into our cup. And after that, we're gonna do 1/2 ounce of a quality Canadian maple syrup. Don't use table syrup, it's gotta be the real stuff. All right, good. Let's get some hot water, more hot water. Let's fill that to the top. And then we're gonna get our spoon and just give that a good mix. You got a lot of options here for garnish. You can go marshmallows if you want to indulge the kid in you. I'm gonna go with some whipped cream, and then we're gonna grate some cinnamon on top. So just a good amount of whipped cream. It does melt fast, it's hot chocolate. And we're grating a cinnamon. You can use cinnamon powder, but I'm grating a cinnamon stick. Not the easiest thing to do.
The maple bourbon hot chocolate. Oh my God. Wow, that is phenomenal. Hold on, I need a moment. That's absolutely incredible. Rich, chocolatey, creamy, despite using water, very creamy. So that milk powder in there does help a lot. It's not overly sweet, even though we've got the sugar in the mix and we've got the addition of the maple syrup. It's not overly sweet. It is sweet, but it's just the right kind of sweet. That chocolate and that chocolate sweetness comes up front, and then you get the nice maple that follows through, and then it finishes on bourbon, that bourbon warmth. Oh, wow. That works so well together. To my fellow Canadians out there, if you want to try this one with Sortilège, which is a maple Canadian whiskey, that would probably work just as well. Oh, that is nice. Moving on.
All right, our next one here is an Irish hot chocolate. So starting the same way with 2 tablespoons of our hot chocolate mix, we're gonna give it a little bit of hot water to get things going. into the glass, get our little pulser milk frother thingy, and give that a couple pulses to just dissolve everything. There we go. And now moving on to our Irish ingredients. We're going to start with an ounce of Irish whiskey, Tullamore Dew. That's the right choice. If you're making an Irish coffee, you want Tullamore Dew. So why not? This is an Irish hot chocolate. Follow that up with an ounce of Irish cream. Obviously, you could use Bailey's, but I've got my own recipe. Check out that link. It's super easy to make. You can literally make this in 10 minutes. There we go. Ounce of Irish cream. We're going to then top that off with more hot water. There we go. Give that a little stir down. And then once again, you can garnish however your heart desires. Go marshmallows, go whipped cream. I'm doing whipped cream, and then I'm going to grate some chocolate over this one. So just a little piece of Hershey's chocolate there and grate it over. Chocolate always goes everywhere.
The Irish hot cocoa. Oh, that's got really good flavor there. Irish whiskey. You get the chocolate up front, of course, and then you get that warmth, that shortbready flavor from the Irish whiskey. And then you get all those like nuanced cream and almond and vanilla flavors from the Irish cream at the end. And that's another really good one. Very reminiscent of Irish coffee. Obviously, there's not really coffee in here. It's just hot chocolate, but yeah, it's essentially an Irish coffee. But if you were to use hot chocolate instead of coffee. Which I will say I still prefer an Irish coffee, but this is really nice. It feels sweeter than the first one, than the maple bourbon. Even though that one had half an ounce of pure maple syrup, this one feels sweeter. It does have an ounce of Irish cream, so that probably adds to it. Last one. Hey guys, we've made 2 Boozy hot chocolates. We've got one left, but before we get to it, what you gotta do is hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, so you get notified when we release new content, all right? So let's get on to the last one. Cheers.
The spiced Mexican hot chocolate. This one's a little funkier, so we're gonna start with our 2 tablespoons of mix. Get your water in there. We're going to dissolve the mix into the water, get your milk frother or use a spoon, whatever you want. This works really well though. If you got a milk frother, that's the way to do it. Okay, now we want 1 ounce of a good tequila. I'm using Arete Reposado. Obviously, use whatever you have. If it's a Blanco, don't use anything too expensive, but this is a really nice Reposado. And then we're gonna do half an ounce of coffee liqueur. I'm using my homemade, check out that recipe. But any coffee liqueur, also understand that coffee liqueurs vary in sweetness. Something like Kahlua, very, very sweet. Something like Mr. Black, not sweet at all. So keep that in mind. And then we want half an ounce of a chili liqueur. I'm using Ancho Reyes. It's a smoky ancho chili liqueur. It's gonna add a little spice, a little sweet. It's delicious stuff. Okay, top it off with more hot water once again. Give it a good mixy mix with a spoon. And once again, we're going to garnish with some whipped cream, and this guy's gonna get a dusting of nutmeg. But again, you can go cinnamon, go chocolate, whatever you want.
The spiced Mexican hot cocoa. Cheers. Ooh, that one's interesting. The less sweet of the bunch, chocolate up front, then you get the kind of the nuances of the tequila, a little bit of coffee, and then the spice from the Ancho Reyes kind of hits at the very end. Very interesting. And that spice lingers. You can really get that spice at the end, even that just that half an ounce. Not a spicy drink, but you do get that it lingers afterwards. Hey, that's really good. All right, guys, it is rating time. These were a lot of fun, all very tasty. I've actually never had Boozy hot chocolate before, so this was a nice treat. I was worried that it would be too alcoholic, too boozy, and kind of ruin the experience of a hot chocolate. But no, quite the opposite. It's still very sweet, very chocolatey, very warming, and that little bit of booze just kind of gives it a nice flavor and elevates it. In first place, definitely going to give it to the Maple Bourbon. That just was absolutely wonderful. You get the nice maple flavor, which really goes well with the chocolate, and then that warm whiskey, that warm bourbon at the end. Absolutely phenomenal. Second place, going to give it to the Irish hot chocolate. That's just a great combo. I mean, like I said, it feels very much like an Irish coffee, but you just get that extra little layer of chocolate as opposed to coffee, which is nice. I do prefer a Irish coffee, but this was very nice also. And in last place, the spiced Mexican hot chocolate, also great. I don't see myself making that one particularly again. I like spice, and tequila goes really well together. Just that with a hot chocolate, not necessarily my thing. It's interesting. I enjoyed it. Would I make it again? Probably not. If you've got kids and you make a lot of hot chocolate, make your own mix. It's so easy. And one thing I found remarkable about this particular mix is how easily it blended. I have this little milk frother, and like little 2 pulses, the whole thing was dissolved in the hot water. Sometimes the store-bought ones, I am stirring for hours and hours, and there's still kind of chalky bits at the bottom. So that stuff was really good. So yeah, make the mix. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you're all about these hot cocktails in January, make sure you check out my 3 versions of hot buttered rum over here. Otherwise, you can take a look at the Amaro Caldo, which is basically a hot Amaro cocktail, and I try 9 different Amaros in it, so check out that video right there. Otherwise, guys, we will see you in the next one. Cheers.